Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So I want to talk with you all today about some things that I believe that I've addressed in the past, but I'm going to address it again. And we're going to just basically be talking about how, let's say you've been in a relationship with somebody and now you say, hey, we're just friends. We're just friends. I want you to know that once you've been in a relationship with a person, you're never just friends. You're never just friends. Even if you never ever embark in an intimate way with that person, once you've crossed certain lines in a relationship, you always have a connection. You have a connection. If you have kissed, if you have especially been intimate with that person, even after you break up and now you become friends, you're not just friends anymore because you've crossed lines, you've been connected spiritually, your soul has become one. And even though you are no longer together, you have a connection with a person, and that is what keeps you together, even if, as I said, lines are no longer crossed, but there is a connection between you two. That's why you find people that says, well, we're better friends than we were partners. Well, no, as I said, you're an ex for a reason. I've done a video on that. They no longer have to commit to you in that way, and it's easier for them that way. They can, and then in situations where the exes, they can still call you up and have small talk, and they can still call you up for advice. Basically, now they can salvage and take little pieces of you that they liked about you without the whole you. And that's what it is. Now, people may say, oh, you're just being cynical, blah, blah, blah. No, the thing is, if you were friends, you would have just stayed friends. But you were friends in the beginning because most people are friends at first. Then you took it to the next step. You dated. It did not work. You did not have what it took to keep it together. Could have been things on both your side. No one is ever just blameless. All right. But then it goes back to friends, but this time you have a connection. You see, once you're friends and there's been no emotional connection and no sexual connection, then you're a true friend, because it's you have not crossed into and you have not taken part in anything where you become one flesh at some point. Okay, you have exchanged some things emotionally. You can truly be a friend. You can stay and be in this platonic realm. You may like the person, but you've never crossed that line. You never crossed that threshold. You literally can be more of a friend than when you cross that line, whether it is emotionally, because you can do that. Okay. And you can do it physically, and then you guys could be dating. And so I want you to understand that very clearly. And so that's why I did a video earlier today, and I spoke about an ex that reached out to me, and I will tell you, like, when it comes to that, I don't look back. I don't want to hear anything. Okay, and it's not an anger thing, but for me, it's finished. It's over with, and there's no such thing as I am going to be friends with an ex. This is something with me. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to do what I do. There's people, they are very much, they're best friends with their exes and all of that. But what I'm telling you is you simply still have a connection, even if you never cross the thresholds of intimacy or things like that. It's a connection that holds you there. Now, does it mean you have to hate your exes? No, I don't have to hate an ex, but you don't get to salvage and get pieces of me. Okay, once that line has been crossed and we've dated, when we're over, that door closes. I have nothing against you. If I saw you on the street, I was, say hello, how are you, and keep going. But those things of continual communication and exchanges and needing you for something, you needing me for something. No, we don't need to do that. All right. The only thing that has to be ongoing is if perhaps you have a child with that individual, you're sharing a child together, things may come up, but even then you can still keep those lines very clear. There will be no blurring of the lines. It's about the child, what's going on. We deal with that. But you don't need to know anything about me, anything deep. And I don't need to know anything deep about you. I don't need to remember your birthday. You don't need to remember my birthday. And we're not going to be talking about what's going on in your life with your current partner and what's going on with me and all these little things, because when you move away and when you break up with a person, it's like a cutting away. It's like a death. And you cut away and there's this bleeding that happens, okay, emotionally. And sometimes what happens, you're not, the doctors, when I worked in the hospital, the doctors, when they're making a decision, they use what they had, a cautery knife. And what it does is, as it cuts, it's a little blade, and it's an electronic blade. And what it does as it cuts, it's also cauterizing. So when it's cutting into that particular vessel or whatever it is, it's also burning at the same time to ensure that there's no bleeding out. And sometimes what happens with people when they break up with a person, they don't make that clean cut. And so there's something that still brings them together where, oh, we're friends. Okay, there's no hard feelings here, but you have to heal, allow God to completely heal you, set you free, versus you're still connecting with this person and you're thinking we're just friends. No, you have a connection. You can never be friends with a person that you've slept with, that a person that you have dated for some time. Yes, it appears to you that you are just friends, but what it is, there's a lingering connection and there's still things that you guys can kind of bounce back from one another, and even if you're with another person. And so what happens, you don't realize there's a piece of you, even if it's just 2% of you, that's over there with your ex-friend, friend X/down friend, and a piece of you here. And I don't want any pieces of me to be anywhere. So when that ends, it's just ended. And you ask God to help you, that you're not holding any bitterness and unforgiveness, that if you see this person, you're not reeling back to the past and having a flashback, that you're so full of anger when you hear their name. You don't want that. But you want to be where that person doesn't get to like plug into you, okay? I'm not the charger. I'm not the emotional charger. There's no part of me that you should ever need once we're done. And so you can literally you can have forgiven someone and moved on and see them, and you could be cordial if you see them, but we're not connected that you're still getting from my well. Okay, you can get a sip of water every now and then because you own the well at some point, right? But now the person going, I don't want to pay for all this that it takes to maintain the well. But every now and then I come back and just take a swig. Thank you, and move right on along. And so this is how people often end up. Some women, or even men, they cannot be one for this person, because for the person that maybe God would like to bring in their lives, or for anyone, because there are bits and pieces of them everywhere, depending on how many exes you have and how many exes you're still involved with, and how many almost and one night stands and lovers that stayed friends or almost lovers. That means you never crossed that line, but you guys have always been flirty. So you got little bits of yourself, a little bit of this person, and then you're wondering why you can't seem to get it right in this relationship, or you keep getting these people that's not completely committed because they are scattered everywhere, when in fact you are as well. People are not understanding the spiritual ramifications. The Bible says when a man and a woman come together, they become one flesh. And you can become one flesh not only through sexual contact, but emotional, constantly talking, because talking will eventually lead to convincing, to tasting. Remember when the devil was speaking to Eve in the garden, there was a conversation that led to a physical interaction, which was eating the fruit, which changed the whole trajectory of Eve's life as well as Adam's. And so it's the same thing. Words and conversation has power. As I said in another video, God created the heavens and the earth through words. We read about many things that has happened in the Bible as a result of words, things that were spoken. So conversation, your connection with your ex, is not just, oh, it's just talking, oh, it's just, no, it's excess baggage. It is a connection that you have. You can never be friends with a person that you've just slept with or you have slept with before. You may say we're the best of friends, but it is still a connection. Oh, you've never slept with this person, he's never slept with you, but you have a connection. You have not been completely separated. There is still something that you still are tethered together through something that you now rename it and say this is friendship. And you may never have an intimate connection again, but nevertheless, it is still a connection that you have because you have crossed the line already. So what would that look like for me? I feel that if God has something for me in the future, someone for me in the future, then I need to be whole for that person. That means the past is a past. I learn from those mistakes. The Lord teaches me, He renews my mind on things. I keep my mind stayed on Him. I keep my eyes on the path. I'm not going to the left or to the right. I'm not a person that's a city without walls, that has exes and conversations and connections. Okay? I need to be focused on God and one and whole, and bringing every piece of me back together to be restored by God, to be transformed again. So that if it is the will of God, further down the line, if that's His will, then all of me have been restored, and there's no part of me that is still connected and tethered to an ex or to anyone else. You have to understand what an ex is. An ex is a person that, it's like someone, you go to the store and there's something, you bought it and you brought it home, and then you realize, you know what, this isn't working. And so you have a receipt, you can take it back to the store. And listen, if you take a can of soda, you buy a pack of sodas and you bring it home and you realize, you know what, I don't really want this. You take it back, or you taste it and you're like, I don't feel like this, and you take it back. You can keep going back to the store and then, I just want this can a day, or, let's think of something healthier than soda, but, some sort of a nice healthy drink, or a case of water, and you bring it home and you realize, oh, I already have enough. Or you realize you ordered some cases already and you forgot. So you take it back. But you're like, you know what? While I'm here at the store, I'm thirsty. Let me go and just open up a case. You can't do that. If you return it, you returned it. If you don't want it anymore, okay, you don't want it anymore. But you don't get to go back to the store and take what you want out of it. I love to use the bologna, a pack of bologna example. A pack of bologna is that cheap meat that's probably 49 cents. You cannot walk out the store without paying for that 49 cents pack of bologna. And if you take it back to the store for whatever reason, you cannot go in there and just take out one slice of bologna. So why is it that people, that's what an ex is. They can still come around and talk to you and whatever and all these different things. I'm not talking about the courtesies of, hey, you dated this person, You may have even been married to this person at some point and some things happened and the marriage ended. You don't want to have a hateful relationship with the person, but you're not going to be calling me up like that and talking to me like that. Because when there is a breakup, there is a pulling away, and now it's time to be healed, restored. The God has got to make you whole again, so that if and who he has for you down the line, you are whole, you are one, you are single, that you can focus on him, that you can focus on her, and you still don't have this ex over here they're talking to and that one over here, and every now and then they reach out to you and y'all talking and kiki. No, you put me back. So you don't get to come and scoop out what you need like I'm a canister of sugar. You just need a quarter, quarter teaspoon, a half teaspoon. No. And that's what you have to understand. That's what that is. Now, people, you are free to live however you want to live and be however you want to be, but you have to understand that we're spiritual beings. God created us this way. So if you live a life where 10% of you's here, 5% of you's here, 2% of you's there, you still have something that's open, that's there. You call it something different now, friendship, but you still have a connection. When you are trying to connect with other people, you're going to need people that's pixeled and pieces of them are everywhere. Emotionally, because you belong to someone else. You still have a tether in you. You still have these strings. You're just walking around like a puppet. And so you meet people that's that way too, that has other things going on, because can two come together unless they agree? And so you may even meet someone who has their mind right, but you don't. Or you have your mind right and your focus is right, but they don't, because you're scattered. Because this person is not healed. This person has not closed their doors. They have not allowed the Lord to help them and to teach them, to show them. And it's not that you hate that person, but you realize this is a soul as well. And you want this individual, your ex, to be able to move on with their lives, to be their best self, to be whole. I don't need to hold this 1% of this man. I don't need to have 1% of this woman, for those of you, the men to the women. No, they need to be their whole self. There's no part of this person that I want to be held accountable to God for, where I was still here and they could not be who they needed to be for their husband. She could not be who she needed to be, or he could not be who he needed to be for his wife. She could not be who she could have been for her husband, because you have that little bit. And more than anything, you want to be whole. You will never just be just a friend with your ex. It is still a connection. And you may enjoy those relationships. You may say, girl, you don't know what you're talking about. This is what I'm going to do. This is how we do our thing. This is how we roll. That's fine. That's you. But you have to understand, there is a spiritual connection once you have become one flesh, especially sexually. So when that door is closed and God pulls you away, this person's broken your heart and all these things, they still want to be in your life. And now they're telling you what to do in your relationship, that they failed in a relationship with you. They're giving you advice on what to do with your wife. He's giving you advice on what to do with your husband or your boyfriend, but he could not be a boyfriend to you. So how does this happen? How does a person that broke your heart or cheated on you or just was not emotionally available now become your advisor and your go-to when you're frustrated? It's a connection. Because your ex is an ex for a reason. It didn't work out. Maybe it wasn't the right time, whatever it was. Regardless, they put you back. And so if they put you back and they sent you back to the store, Is I don't want this anymore. It's not going to work out. I'm exhausted. They don't get to pick off bits and pieces of you, because that's what it is. And as long as they're bits and pieces of you, even if it's you guys are in a general consensus and say, I like this, you are still missing a part of you. And now you're trying to give that piece of you to your husband or your wife. You're going, well, it's 90% of me. You got 90%, it's only 10% is over here. That's not how that works. That's not how that works spiritually. So guys, I hope this makes some sense for someone. If you're single, just make sure that you go before the Lord and ask the Lord to help you, to cleanse you, and to help you to become one, become whole in Him, be who He wants you to be, restore you, remove anything that you have picked up, hurt, brokenness, bitterness, all of that. Let Him make you whole and move forward, so that when that man or that woman that God wants to bring in your life comes, that man that is disciplining his flesh and himself, that woman that's doing that, when you come together, all of you, he gets 100% of you and she gets 100% of you. And you let the past be the past, and let your ex be 100% who they need to be for their current partner or their wife or their husband. Okay? Because what we have a lot of people walking around like puzzles with missing pieces. And that's because they belong to people many different ways. Some people, they're still sleeping with their exes. Others, they're still emotionally tied to their exes. Some people, they're just still hurting and still floating around. They have all types of different connections. There's a piece of them on Bumble. There's a piece of them over here. There's a piece of them in someone's DM. There's a piece of them here and there and everywhere. Somebody has a piece of them in their cell phones. And then they're wondering why they keep drawing people who are emotionally unavailable. It's because of the condition of your spirit. So guys, I hope this makes sense. And whoever will receive, that's fine. Whoever does not, that's okay as well. All right, guys.